Welcome back to Truths of a Madman. Hope everything is treating you well. Hope everybody is well. Today, I'm going to be reacting to a video by Geopolitical Economy Report. He's talking about the Iran war, the war of aggression, I guess you could call it. I don't know what else you want to call it. It's a imperialist war. We're gonna watch this and comment along the way. So I guess before that, though, I wanted to say, also just again, I'm a really small channel. I'm trying to, do my part. I guess I don't know what else to do exactly. I've been looking for groups like the Communist Party of the USA, revolutionists, communists of the U.S. I've tried a few different ones, and honestly, I know nothing against them. They're doing what they can do, but they're, at least the Communist Party of the USA, they're I don't know, they're trying to work within the capitalist system, and I guess what else can they really do, honestly? But it doesn't seem like they have a plan to go forward with socialism. I mean, maybe they feel like they do, but they're just trying to work within the system and reform things and work with the Democrats and all this stuff. And I don't know. It's not something I believe is going to get us anywhere. It's only going to prolong capitalism. So anyway, the reason why I'm saying all that is because this is what I've kind of found, at least at this point, to be able to do my part to, push for a better future and go work towards socialism. I know it's going to take so much work, especially here in America. We're clawing for, America is clawing for, for life, because we're a declining, I don't want to say we, because I do live in America, but I'm not part of any of this imperialist bullshit. So I'm not going to say we, I'm going to say them, the ruling class, are, grasping for life in this declining empire. And this is just all signs of it, Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, they've talked about these things, and it's obvious. But that being said, I don't want to ramble too long, but I wanted to just say that this is kind of like where I feel, at least at this point, where I can at least contribute to a better future, by being a propagandist, I guess you could say, for the cause for socialism and communism. I really wanted to talk about the Iran war, the war of aggression that the United States and Israel has started and is ongoing now for about a week. Geopolitical Economy Report is gonna, Graham Norton is gonna, Ben Norton, who runs this channel, is gonna talk about this. I really align with the things that he says, so I wanted to watch this with you guys. But also, before that, I wanted to say that we, as in people that care about humanity, people that care for a better future, people that don't want power, don't necessarily think that money and commodities and this capitalist system is really working for them. So I guess anybody that, let's just put it this way, anybody that cares about humanity and a better future should be 100% against this war of aggression. Okay, for one. Also, beyond that, if you call yourself a socialist or a communist, you should be against any kind of imperialist war in general. And I would say that since World War II or after World War II, we as in America, I should say, I don't, like I said, I don't include myself in this bullshit, but America, since World War II, I mean, we came out of World War II, we didn't have destruction of our economy, of our infrastructure like Europe did. And we basically kind of came out on top, so to speak, because we, had an attack obviously on Pearl Harbor, but it was just, it wasn't like the devastation of Europe. So we kind of took power in a sense that we helped Europe rebuild, but at a for our interest, I would say, because now they have owed us basically, and they're kind of like always been our we created NATO, and we have always been kind of like backing us up, and along the same lines, Israel has been the same. America has always backed Israel and all of the awful things that they have done. It's because it's in the ruling class interests. It's for protection of capitalism. So this war of aggression on Iran, regardless of how you feel about their politics or their how they run their country, it's not our place to push our interests on a sovereign country, just like we've done to Cuba. Terrible things to Cuba, and they're freaking amazing that they've made it so far. And the same that we did to Venezuela. I mean, this is all the same kind of stuff. It's for America to, push their interests on other countries in the disguise of these moral words like democracy and to help the people, and to defend democracy, to defend our to defend our security, like the war, the illegal occupation of Iraq. That's what we said, to defend our national security. It's all of these bullshit words, like these moral things to make America look like they're great somehow and doing something good, when in reality we're just basically trying to destabilize the countries that we're doing this to, so that we can push our agenda, put a puppet government. That's usually what we want to do, so that it's in our interest, so that the American business can come in and extract resources and extract the labor power of the place. And also in this case, and in a lot of cases where we, go and occupy these countries, we are trying to get some kind of a geopolitical, like a strategic location. So in this case, yeah, Iran it's a strategic location, a choke point where we can disrupt the supply chains if needed, for the new Cold War against China somehow, which China's just trying to make a better world. Honestly, that's what they're doing. It's like the opposite of us, of America. And then Israel, man, they just have this hyper focused, sick vision, like America did with this manifest destiny stuff, where this land is ours, given by God somehow, and we're just going to destroy all the people like America did to the indigenous people. That's what Israel has been doing for decades, to the Palestinian people, and they've been hanging in there, and I feel so awful for them. I wish I could just, you know, just help them. They need help. And just like now the Iranian people do, because, you know, that's America says they're trying to somehow they're doing this for the Iranian people to help them, right? That's another thing that America says. But how is bombing, you know, a children's school and killing a bunch of children which is what we did, and it seems like it was a target, honestly, and that's what we're gonna watch in this video, I believe. But how is that helping the Iranian people? It's not. It's just helping the interests of America and Israel. Oh, and one more thing before we watch this. I know I've been talking for a while, but one more thing I wanted to say is that another thing I heard that is super ridiculous is that Israel kind of forced our hands into this, right? Like Israel controls America somehow. And that's bullshit, because America, if you think about it logically, America is always saying, like, we don't care about international law. We don't care about anything else but our interests. So how the hell would Israel like be able to control what we do? That's bullshit. Don't believe this stuff. So I guess to wrap up this kind of rant, you should not fall anymore for this rhetoric America is pushing. None of this is in our best interests, the working class best interests, Americans, everyday Americans. You know, it's only in the best interest of the people who want power and money, the ruling class. That's it. Everybody else, it's the opposite. It's in our interest to not support this whatsoever. Shouldn't support war anyway, but something like this, it's just obvious. I mean, look at the patterns. Like I said, ever since World War II, I mean, Korea, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Iraq, they've all been, you know, just no good, I should say, you know? I mean, Afghanistan, we were there for what, 20 years with no real plan of how to get out, and just, it did nothing. And Vietnam, those people today are still having birth defects from, you know, Agent Orange and, you know, these terrible things that we've done, and it's done nothing. I mean, we tried to say that, you know, we're trying to stop, you know, communism, like communism is a bad thing. We've demonized it. I mean, it's just all ridiculousness. And so I just want you guys to see these patterns and see it for how it is, not in our best interests. They're taking so much money and putting it into this military machine when they should be fixing our infrastructure. They should be giving us free or affordable health care. They should be building housing for the homeless. I mean, we should be doing way more with this money that we're giving to the military. It's not in your best interest. Okay. So just want to say that. So let's watch this, and we'll talk about, we'll talk about the things he says along the way, I guess. Right? Let's do it, guys.
We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours truly. Our rules of engagement are bold, precise, and designed to unleash American power, not shackle it. This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it is not a fair fight. We are punching them while they're down, which is exactly how it should be.
All right. Like, listen to this. Listen to this. It's just a bully, dude. I don't understand how anybody could, like, be, even like super patriotic people would be like, oh yeah, let's just go bully this country while they're down and kill the people, and like, what the fuck? I don't understand this at all. How could anybody support this? Listen to this guy. What are they doing? It's just ridiculousness.
The United States and Israel are waging an extremely brutal war against Iran. They're not only hitting military targets, they are targeting civilian areas.
On purpose.
The World Health Organization reported that in just the first few days of this war, the U.S. and Israel bombed at least 13 hospitals and health facilities in Iran. Even right-wing pro-Israel media outlets in the West, like for instance the British conservative newspaper The Telegraph, are admitting that Tehran is an apocalypse of hospitals in flames and children buried beneath rubble, as the U.S. and Israel are intentionally bombing civilian areas. One of the most horrifying attacks...
Wait, I just wanted to say this is, it's not surprising. It's sick and awful. That's why nobody should realistically support any of this. But this is Israel's way. They go after civilians. They go after people that have nothing really to do with any of this, other than they live in this country and they're trying to survive. It's awful.
Which was carried out on the first day of this war, was the bombing of a girls' elementary school in southern Iran. And the New York Times has admitted that the U.S. military bombed this school. More than 170 Iranians lost their lives. The vast majority were children. And this was carried out by the U.S. military. And this is not an isolated case by any means. The New York Times also reported that on the 5th of March, the U.S. and Israel bombed 2 more schools in Iran. So that means they have bombed at least 3 Iranian schools in 5 days. And these are just the cases that we know about. There are probably more. The United Nations Education Agency, UNESCO, emphasized that these U.S. attacks on schools in Iran constitute, quote, a grave violation of international law, end quote. And it goes without saying that this war is totally illegal. Experts on international law have emphasized that it violates international law and that the U.S. was engaged in negotiations in so-called...
Oh yeah, so that's another thing that I didn't mention, is that we were negotiating. We're in the middle of negotiating, and Iran was, basically giving us more than what we asked for, I think, and that we just bombed them. We had no intention of negotiating. It's obvious. So this is totally illegal. Not that the United States or Israel cares whatsoever about international law, but and then on top of it, look at what we're doing. We're targeting children, hospitals, totally blatantly inhumane things to destabilize and basically bully, like that Pete Hegseth, or however you say his name, the Department of War idiot. Oh man, okay. I get frustrated.
Peace talks with Tehran when the U.S. launched this illegal surprise war of aggression, sabotaging the negotiations. Stanford University's elite law school published an interview with an expert on international law. He said, quote, "From an international law perspective, my judgment is that the attack was quite clearly illegal," end quote. And he added that it very obviously violates the UN Charter, which says that countries are not allowed to attack other states. That is an illegal war of aggression. Now, he did note that under international law, states do have a right to self-defense. But in this case, this expert on international law from Stanford Law School pointed out that Iran did not constitute a threat, an imminent threat to the United States. This is what he said, quote, "The notion that Iran presents a general security threat to U.S. interests does not constitute a threat of imminent attack, nor does the possibility that Iran might at some point in the future acquire nuclear weapons or intercontinental missiles capable of reaching the U.S. homeland amount to a threat of an imminent attack, end quote. All of the talking points that the Donald Trump administration has used to try to justify this illegal war have immediately fallen apart. For instance, the Pentagon admitted in a closed-door briefing to the U.S. Congress that Iran was not planning on attacking the U.S. The Trump administration also falsely claimed that Iran was on the verge of getting nuclear weapons, but...
Yeah, so Iran, they enriched uranium to a certain percentage, and that percentage was not like for weapons grade, and then the U.S. is trying to say, well, but it's close to weapons grade. It could be like 2 weeks, and they could have a nuclear weapon, which, you know, I think is bullshit anyway, because I believe it takes a whole lot more than that. But you know, I'm not an expert on that, so I don't know. But what I do know is that the percentage that they enrich the uranium, it's for like technology, for like research centers and stuff like that, for hospitals, for health things, you know what I mean? So it's just, all of this stuff is just bullshit. Just like in Iraq, when we said that they had weapons of mass destruction, the same old story. Guys got to see the pattern here.
The head of the UN nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, said very clearly in an interview on CNN that Iran was not on the verge of having nuclear weapons. That was a complete lie fabricated by the U.S. government to justify this illegal war.
I'm just going to ask you this, you know, very pointedly. Were the Iranians days or weeks away from building a bomb, from having a bomb?
No. We never had information indicating that there was a structured, systematic program to build or to construct a nuclear weapon.
And the Trump administration is proud of the fact that it is targeting civilians and trying to destroy Iranian society. The U.S. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who renamed the Pentagon from the Department of Defense to the Department of War, which is much more accurate, Hegseth gave a press conference in which he boasted that this is not a fair fight and the U.S. is punching Iranians while they're down.
Yeah.
We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours truly. Our rules of engagement are bold,
it's sick, man,
precise, and designed to unleash American power, not shackle.
That's what I want to say. Our Congress are just mindless, disappointing, doing nothing. You know what I mean? It's Congress is supposed to be able, are the ones in the Constitution, not that that means anything, honestly, but are the ones that are supposed to be able to declare war, not the president, right? And they could stop this. They're you know, but they voted not to. So our own Congress voted to let these sick imperialists continue this awful war mongering and war profiteering. It's all for that. It's all for the best, the interests of the ruling class, and it's hurting the American citizens, your dad, your mom. It's hurting all of us, the working class. This is just, we need to do something about this, guys. Man.
This was never meant to be a fair fight.
Yeah,
and
obviously you said that.
We are punching them.
You're happy
while they're
that
down,
you're a bully, idiot.
Which is exactly how it should be.
In case it wasn't already obvious that the U.S. government is proud of the fact that it's targeting civilian areas in Iran and trying to destroy Iranian society, Listen to this other clip here where Pete Hegseth boasts that the U.S. military is raining upon Iran, quote, death and destruction from the sky.
He's happy that
all day long, end
he's
quote.
playing some kind
this
of
sounds
World
like a
of
quote
Warcraft
from a
or some
supervillain
shit.
in a Hollywood movie. This is the head of the U.S. military. Listen here.
Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of.
Oh yeah, but you forgot what you really should be saying is school children looking up, seeing American bombs raining down, because that's what's really happening here.
Every day until we decide it's over. And Iran will be able to do nothing about it. B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long.
Pete Hegseth also compared Trump's war on Iran to the illegal invasion of Iraq in 2003.
It's kind of the same,
but
George
it's even more
masked off.
When George W. Bush began that illegal war in Iraq, it started with the so-called shock and awe attack. Pete Hegseth boasted that so-called Operation Epic Fury, which many people are calling Epstein Fury, that Operation Epstein Fury has delivered twice the air power of the shock and awe at the beginning of the invasion of Iraq.
Wait,
so he's boasting this is twice as deadly.
I'm sorry.
Boasting of the boasted that so-called Operation Epic Fury, which many people.
Here, let me pause that. Let me see what this says. I haven't seen this. Operation Epic Fury, Iran. Oh my God. Forget trafficked schoolgirls. Bomb Iranian ones. 165 girls dead. I want you for Operation Epstein Fury. Oh my God. Somebody made this shirt. This is freaking hilarious, but in a bad, it's not a good thing. I'm not by any means trying to make light or laugh at what's going on, this awful stuff, but like stuff like this, people need to wear stuff like this and be like, wake up. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Anyway, here we go.
People are calling Epstein Fury, that Operation Epstein Fury has delivered twice the air power of the shock and awe at the beginning of the invasion of Iraq. So he's boasting this is twice as deadly as the invasion of Iraq. And he also added that it's 7 times as brutal as the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, the 12-day war that was carried out last year in June 2025.
Yeah.
Thus far, Operation Epic Fury has delivered twice the air power of shock and awe of Iraq in 2003, minus Paul Bremer and the nation building. The campaign has 7 times the intensity of Israel's previous operations against Iran during the 12-day war. 7 times. And as President Trump said...
Oh, yeah, and by the way, didn't Mr. Epstein file himself, Donald, didn't he say that we got rid of any kind of facilities where they could enrich uranium and make nuclear weapons, right? Didn't he say that? What happened to that? It was just lies, just like everything else, right?
More and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating.
And we should keep in mind who exactly Pete Hegseth is. He was previously a host of Fox News. He doesn't have background as a military officer overseeing war.
My God.
He was a right-wing pundit on Fox News, and Trump watched him all the time on TV and liked him and decided, hey, this guy should run the military. And Hegseth has been a longtime neoconservative warmonger and a religious extremist.
Yeah.
He published a book in 2020 titled American Crusade, in which he proudly declared that the U.S. empire is waging a holy war. He used the term holy war against communist China. He always calls China communist China, the international
Red
left,
Scare stuff.
And he said the other main target of the U.S. empire is Islam. all of the religion of Islam, with roughly 2 billion Muslims on Earth. And in Hegseth's Pentagon, U.S. military commanders are telling their troops
people
that the U.S.-Israeli war of aggression against Iran is part of an apocalyptic end times war. It is part of a biblical vision to destroy Iran, to wage a holy war against Islam in order to bring about the apocalypse. I'm not exaggerating. I wish this were a joke. It's not a joke.
No, I know.
These are the extremists, the fascists who are leading the U.S. military right now. And Hegseth is obsessed with the culture war, and he has constantly boasted that he's making sure that the U.S. military is no longer woke.
Nope.
But when Hegseth says that, what he really means is that the U.S. military should no longer even pretend to oppose committing war crimes. And he has ordered U.S. troops to ignore rules of engagement, to ignore international law, and given them a total green light to carry out as many war crimes,
man. I can't believe what's going on right now.
I'm not exaggerating. The U.S. Department of War is quite literally pro-war crimes. Listen to this clip of the speech that Hegseth gave in the U.S. when he ordered military leaders from all over the world to come back to the U.S. to listen to this mandatory speech. And he told U.S. military commanders to ignore the rules of engagement, ignore international law, and commit as many war crimes as you want in order to maximize the power and dominance of the U.S. empire.
Every day, we have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy.
God, what a sick
We also
Nazi
don't fight
dude.
with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country.
But it's just
no more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense,
just ignore international law, ignore
and authority
humanity.
for warfighters. You kill people and break things for a living.
And that was not just empty rhetoric. This is exactly what the U.S. military is doing against Iran. A great example of this is how the U.S. military bombed an Iranian ship for no reason in the Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers away from Iran. This was not involved in hostilities. In fact, this Iranian ship had gone to India in order to participate in naval exercises hosted by India, and it was heading out into international waters. And the U.S. military used a submarine to torpedo the ship, to sink it, killing 87 Iranian soldiers who were not fighting. This is an extreme war crime. They were not actually engaged in hostilities. This is just the U.S. empire showing the rest of the world that it is cruel. The cruelty is the point. It's trying to be as sadistic and barbaric as possible. That's the point. The U.S. empire wants the entire world to fear it and to see it rightfully as this crazy rogue regime run by madmen who are totally bloodthirsty, who do not care one bit about human life, and are more than willing to bomb school children in Iran, bomb girls' elementary schools to show the rest of the world how literally evil they are. And this brings us to an important question, which is what exactly is the U.S. empire trying to accomplish in this war against Iran? Because the U.S. and Israel started this illegal war of aggression by violating peace talks and launching the surprise attack on Iran, in which America they carried out decapitation strikes, as they put it, to assassinate all of the political and military leaders of Iran. And their goal was to try to bring about state collapse. This is why, for instance, they killed the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who, by the way, was not hiding. He didn't flee. He was in his office. He was 86 years old. He was in bad health. He wanted to become a martyr. He knew that the U.S. and Israel were going to kill him. That's why he didn't even try to flee. and also because he knew that the Iranian government would not collapse with his death. This is what the U.S. and Israel don't understand. They have believed their...
Except for, I just wanted to say, except for the thing that I don't get, and I haven't heard anybody talk about, is we killed his daughter, the leader, I forget his name, I apologize, but the leader of Iran that we just killed. But we also killed his daughter and his granddaughter, and I don't understand, like, was that something that he chose, or was that just a casualty, like a blowback from killing him, and they were around? Like, I don't understand that. Nobody's ever talked about that, but that's awful too. It killed his family, his granddaughter. Oh my God. Here we go.
Own propaganda. They think that Iran is a so-called dictatorship, but it's obviously not a dictatorship, because for years, not just in this war, but in the past, the U.S. and Israel have assassinated many Iranian leaders.
Yeah.
In 2020,
Trump
that. Killed the top Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani,
like
who was probably the second most
powerful
powerful person
Not
in the Iranian
I keep
government
saying we.
after
I have
the
nothing to
Supreme
do with
leader,
this.
Ali
I'm
Khamenei.
just born
And
in America.
Israel has assassinated so many Iranian political leaders and military leaders and scientists. The U.S. and Israel have been carrying out an extreme campaign of terror against Iran for many years, trying to kill all of the leaders, and the Iranian government has not collapsed because it's not a dictatorship. It's not like Iraq, for instance.
Yeah, and
the U.S. invaded.
They have a plan.
They removed Saddam Hussein. They later killed Saddam Hussein.
They have a plan,
and the government did
if
collapse.
One of their leaders dies, they have somebody else to so that they can't be destabilized that easily. And it's the same old bullshit trying to, get rid of and destabilize a government that doesn't bend the knee to America and let Americans come in and take their resources and their labor power and who gets the most who gets hurt the most out of all this is the regular citizens just trying to live their lives. That is the worst thing to me about all of this. All these people in power playing games, they're just hurting regular people that are just trying to live their lives. They should be helping. Like, this is backwards. Like China, they're the opposite. They're trying to make the world a better place. So that's what we should be doing, all of us. Okay?
But Iran is not like that. The Iranian government has actually shown that it's quite resilient, and a big reason for this is because Khamenei and other top Iranian leaders all designated a series of individuals who could fill their position. There are reports that for every top official in the Iranian government, there are 4 individuals who are designated under them in a line of succession for if and when the U.S. and Israel assassinate those officials, someone else can take their place. But regime change is obviously not happening. So this leads us to another conclusion, which is that the U.S. and Israel, they don't just want regime change. Of course, they would love to have regime change. They would love to put in a puppet like the fail son of the former Shah, the former U.S.-backed dictator, or some other puppet, but that's not realistic. So increasingly, what it looks like the U.S. and Israel's goal is state collapse, which is even worse than regime change.
Yeah, because
they want a failed state.
Hurt all
they
of
want
these
Iran to be destroyed as a society. So the country cannot be governed. This is what U.S.-led NATO forces did in Libya in 2011 when they killed Libya's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, and they totally collapsed the state. And for the past 15 years, Libya has been a completely decentralized, failed state, and there has not been a central government. There's been an ongoing civil war. There were even open-air slave markets in Libya. And this is what the U.S. and Israel want to do to Iran. Total
and that's what
collapse.
They're doing to Palestine as well.
And this has surprisingly actually been admitted by some Israeli officials. There was an incredible report published in the Financial Times that says the quiet part loud, if you will, that admits that the U.S. and Israel want state collapse and a failed state in Iran. This FT report was titled, "Israel Expects Weeks-Long War Against Iran." The FT cited Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, who said that every new leader appointed by the Iranian government will be eliminated by Israel. So this is a top Israeli official admitting their plan is quite literally to kill every Iranian government official to make it impossible for this country to be governed. And then in an even more revealing part, the FT interviewed a former top Israeli intelligence official named Danny Citrinovitz. And who exactly is Danny Citrinovitz? Well, he's currently working at the Atlantic Council, which is NATO's think tank in Washington. It's funded by Western governments and the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
But more importantly here, he served for 25 years in top positions in the Israel Defense Intelligence Agency, and he was the head of the Iran branch in the Research and Analysis Division in Israel's Defense Intelligence. He was also the agency's representative in the United States. And he admitted that Israel wants state collapse. He said that
obvious.
Israel's goal
is totally
quote,
mask off.
the total
destruction
of this regime, of the pillars of this regime, of everything that
At least
holds
we know
it
what we're
together,
dealing with.
End quote.
That's why
and then this is what he told the
never
Financial
support
Times,
any of this.
summarizing
the patterns,
the position of the Israeli regime. Quote, "If we can have a coup, great. If we can have people on the streets, great. If we can have a civil war, great. Israel could not care less about the future or the stability
Oh man,
of
it's just
Iran."
right there. Just said it.
End
Could
quote.
not care less.
This is the former head of Iran operations for Israel's defense intelligence saying that Israel wants
Just
to
terrible
collapse
people.
the Iranian state, to have a civil war,
They just
to
admitted it.
destabilize the country, and that quite literally, they do not
Or not
care about
just
the
admitted
future
it.
of Iran and the
always are.
93 million people who live in Iran. These are the insane fascists who are running the U.S. and Israeli regimes,
Awful.
who do not care one iota about human life. This is why they don't care at all about bombing school children. They want to collapse society. It's not just about regime change. It's about much more than regime change. It is total state collapse to destroy Iran as a country, as a society.
The U.S. is just all
exactly what the U.S. and Israel did in Gaza. They're now repeating that in Iran and Lebanon, and they have plans on doing it in other parts of the global south. This is the true face of Western imperialism. What they're doing to Iran is what they did to Gaza, and
Look at that.
if they're not stopped by the world.
Oh yeah, also I was just going to say this really quick. I forgot to mention that we also threatened at least Ecuador to get the diplomats from Cuba out of there. And unfortunately, Ecuador just had to do what we said because they had no way, they don't really have a good way to defend themselves. So it's awful. It's such a bullying because we are totally trying to destabilize Cuba as well. I'm sure you guys know this. But anyway, here we go.
If the world does not unite against them, they want to repeat this in other countries, in Cuba, in Venezuela, and who knows where else. Yeah. I hate to end on a very sad, pessimistic note, but I'm being realistic here.
Yeah, it's not.
This is what
we're
dealing
happy right
with,
now, man.
And we should not mince words. We should not sugarcoat
this
what
is
the
exactly
US and Israel
why
are doing
everybody
right now.
should be
against
against
this. This is a fascist war of extermination. On that note, I'm going to conclude. I am Ben Norton. I'm the editor-in-chief of Geopolitical Economy Report.
All right, so yeah, I'll stop there. Man, so just real quick. I know this has been kind of a long one, but I just want to say, you guys don't. If you have friends, family, neighbors, if you're talking to somebody when you're out and these things come up, and you could see that they're still supporting, for whatever reason, this imperialist, terrible things that America and Israel are doing. Explain to them, at least much as best as you can, why they should not support this whatsoever. And we all need to do this any chance we get. We need to get normal, regular people understanding that this is not in their best interest. It's not in the best interest of this world, and we need to organize together, put a stop to this. We just need to. This is just getting worse and worse and worse. So anyway, on that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this with me, or at least maybe not enjoyed as much as it opened your eyes and made you see the reality of this situation if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys the next time. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I try to do these videos as much as possible, and hope you have a good day. Workers of the world unite.